Almost every company survey that I get involved in, or any 360 feedback that I help people do from an executive coaching perspective, communication is always part of the conversation. Sometimes it gets done well, sometimes it gets done not so well. You know, my wife, bless her heart, she says to me, you know, you teach this stuff. You might want to practice it at home from time to time. Very funny. Anyway, communication. And right now we're talking about interpersonal, one-on-one, face-to-face. Yes, there's business communication, there's email communication, heck, I guess there's effective text communication now. There's how to give a presentation to an audience. Those are all parts and kinds of communication that you need to, you know, spend some time on and get better at. But right now we're talking about interpersonal, one-on-one, face-to-face. So, first you got to understand the process, right? There actually is a process of communication. Now, the reason I love that for you viewers is that you're builders. You are process-focused people. So if I give you a process, you can follow the process. And this process for communication is pretty easy. Sender, receiver, message, method. There's 4 parts of this process. Now, the sender, that's the one where you're going to spend most of the time, obviously, and it has to do with how you communicate. But before it even get to that, it's how you think. How do you think about yourself? How do you think about the people across from you? You know, what's going on in that relationship? Because all of that stuff is going to come out subconsciously. People are going to pick that stuff up. You know, you've been talking to folks and kind of, you know, a person, and you kind of felt like, this person doesn't like me, they don't respect me. In fact, we all have a genetic thing called a BS filter. We're on the internet. We all have a bullshit filter, right? And everybody gets it, right? So if you don't respect the person you're talking to, they're gonna get it. So you gotta work on you. Now, as the sender, you also need to think about timing, right? Is this a good time to send the message? You got to think about what you're doing with your voice, the pace, the tone, the inflection. You need to think about location, setting, right? You know, is this a private thing? Is it, you know, job sites are some of the worst places to have a conversation because they're noisy, they're dusty, heck, they're dangerous. You're looking around to make sure you're safe. It's really tough to focus on somebody and to get them to focus on you. And that's the receiver. All right, we got to make sure that the receiver's in a place to receive. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. But as the sender, I need to do what I can to get that receiver engaged. Now, if you are the receiver in the conversation, what do you need to do to stay engaged? First thing, I know you got your Apple Watch and you got all these devices around us, but you got to figure out how to move that stuff aside. The other day, I went to lunch with somebody, and about 30 minutes into it, and it was a business meeting, they said, well, you've really surprised me. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? What did I do? And the guy said, you haven't checked your cell phone since you've been here. So that's because I left it in the car. I don't want to take the chance of checking it. You know, I'm here to be with you, to demonstrate respect to you, to listen to you. And if I have that tempting device near me, bad things will happen from the receiver perspective. We can talk a lot about cell phones and distractions later, but you get the point. As the receiver, what do you need to do to stay focused on what the sender is sending? If you're in a classroom setting, for me, that means taking notes. It means sitting towards the front of the room to help me stay focused so that I'm a better listener for the sender. And by the way, when you're a better listener, the sender gets better. Other ways to get better at communication: read, study. Every year I read a book or two on communication. You know, they say that there's nothing new under the sun, but I get to hear something and see something in a different way. So you want to get better at communication, you got to study it. You got to work at getting better at it. So there's plenty of things you can read on that. And perhaps the most important thing to improve your communication skills as a leader is to listen. Truly, whole body, active listen. Not checking your cell phone, kind of, you know, looking around, distracted listening, but being 100% there for the person. Now that's really hard to do in today's hypervelocity environment. But the better you listen, the better the conversation goes. Ultimately, it says, dude, I respect you. You matter to me when you listen fully. When you don't, you send the message to somebody that, I don't care about you. And I guarantee you this, if you send the message to somebody that you don't care about them, I guarantee they won't care about you. Now, I can't guarantee that if you send the message, I care about you, they will care about you, but you got a chance. If you don't, they won't. A little bit of research for you about communication. A couple of years back, Harvard did some research and it said all things being equal. So I have two people, employee A, employee B. In fact, we clone them, right? I got employee A and employee A. Who gets promoted? Right? Well, they're clones. They're the same thing. So who gets promoted first? They do the exact same work. They do it at the same level. But now, maybe the original is a better communicator. 65% of the time, that better communicator, all things being equal, gets promoted first. So, what's in it for you about being a better communicator, better relationships, and maybe career advancement? It is so worth it. And oh, by the way, it's a challenge, but it's so worth it.